As expected, the Middle East is a pressure cooker again, and so are American opinions about it. I can read the room. Emotions are high. But today we're not picking a side. We're tracing narrative footprints today to see how stories get written and who writes them. So if you're watching, this is your invitation to slow down and think while others react. Let's start with a curious story involving Trump and Iran, of all countries, that actually puts them in a positive light. Back in 2024, Soleimani's killing triggered an Iranian missile barrage. But we learned, maybe by design, they missed intentionally. Trump revealed that Iran even called him to say, "Don't move. We're launching strikes, but we don't intend to kill anyone." They wanted to show force, but not provoke all-out war. Respect, he called it. Precision missiles, zero casualties. And the media were stumped by it. Very strange, they said. How come nothing hit? Here's that video.
Before you go too far, would have never happened with me. I had Iran in check. You know, we hit them very hard for something that they did, and they had to hit back. They feel they have to do that, and I understand that. Do you know they called me to tell me we're going to hit a certain location, but we're not going to hit it. It's going to be outside of the perimeters.
Who called you?
Iran called me. Iran called for me. And they let us know, and we had 16 missiles went off. I believe it was 16. 6 or 7 failed in the air.
When was this?
This was prior to the attack on a fort that we had where they hit back. Do you remember when they sent 18 missiles or 16 missiles? 5 failed. They let us know, don't move. We're going to have to hit you back. Psychologically, we have to do that because we hit them on something. You remember. They sent 16 or 18 missiles, and we knew they weren't going to hit inside the fort. And the media was going, and now I reveal it, the media was going wild because they say it's strange. They're very accurate missiles. How come they all missed? Nobody was killed, if you remember.
Yes,
with all of those missiles, nobody was killed. Now, they had to do it because they have people and they have to show strength. So they aimed the missiles, but they said, please don't attack us. We're not going to hit you. That was respect. We had respect.
So ask yourself, why fire a dozen missiles if you don't intend to kill anyone? Why the warning call? What's the purpose of missiles that land in sand? Is this warfare or performance art? Maybe the real impact wasn't physical. Maybe it was psychological, just as Trump said. Maybe we weren't supposed to bleed, but to believe. Because what followed weren't body counts. It was headlines. And that's where the story sticks. Think about this. Netanyahu says Iran tried to assassinate Trump. And now, as the dust kicks up again in Iran and beyond, he's once again calling for U.S. backing, using language that feels eerily familiar.
As the Bible teaches us, when someone comes to kill you, rise and act first. This is exactly what Israel has done today.
As the Bible teaches, when someone comes to kill you, rise and act first? Really? First of all, that's not in the Bible. It's in the Jewish Talmud. Secondly, we've heard that script before. Weapons of mass destruction, preemptive strikes, moral mandates for military moves, all of it riding on rhetoric dressed up in reverence. And once again, American conservatives, especially the MAGA base, are caught in the middle. Because let's remember, Trump told Israel not to strike Iran during negotiations. But they did anyway. And now the same voices that once echoed America first are being pulled, as always, into Israel first by appeals to shared enemies, shared values, and shared fears. Are we thinking clearly? Or are we being emotionally maneuvered, manipulated, as always? You don't have to be anti-Israel to question this. You don't have to be anti-Trump to wonder about the script. You just have to be awake enough to see when the pieces fit too well.
The deadline for attaining this goal is getting extremely close.
And Iran, by the way, is also outpacing Iraq in the development of ballistic missile systems that they hope will reach the eastern seaboard of the United States within 15 years. By next spring, at most, by next summer, at current enrichment rates, they will have finished the medium enrichment and move on to the final stage. From there, it's only a few months, possibly a few weeks, before they get enough enriched uranium for the first bomb. The foremost sponsor of global terrorism could be weeks away from having enough enriched uranium for an entire arsenal of nuclear weapons. That would place a militant Islamic terror regime weeks away from having the fissile material for an entire arsenal of nuclear bombs.
If not stopped, Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year, it could be within a few months, less than a year.
Now zoom out. This isn't just about the Middle East. Narrative warfare doesn't respect borders. The Russia-Ukraine saga is part of this same tapestry. We're being pulled into overlapping theaters with recycled storylines and mirrored villains. One day it's Putin, the next it's Iran, and tomorrow, who knows? And yet the coordination of language, timing, and emotional appeal is undeniable. Take the split inside the Pentagon. Some top officials want more U.S. military support for Israel. Others say no. One side wants to escalate, the other to hold ground. Meanwhile, Trump is busy defining his latest term in office, and the stage is being set for where he stands, where you'll stand. You think these divisions are accidental? You think it's a coincidence that as Trump shows off more and more power, the narratives around him get louder? Maybe it's coordination. Maybe it's divine providence. Maybe it's both. But either way, it seems too coordinated not to be scripted in some way. So who's writing it? Trump and Netanyahu? That's what some like Brett Baer suggest.
I want to talk about the nuclear threat, and I want to talk about President Trump. You just said Iran tried to assassinate President Trump twice. Do you have intel that the assassination attempts on President Trump were directly from Iran?
Through proxies, yes. Through their intel, yes. They want to kill him. Look, he's enemy number one. He's a decisive leader. He never took the path that others took to try to bargain with him in a way that is weak, giving them basically a pathway to enrich uranium, which means a pathway to the bomb, padding it with billions and billions of dollars. He took up this fake agreement and basically tore it up. He killed Qasem Soleimani. He made it very clear, including now, you cannot have a nuclear weapon, which means you cannot enrich. He's been very forceful. So for them, he's enemy number one.
Yeah.
Look, they also tried to kill me, but I'm his junior partner. They understand that President Trump is a great threat to Iran's plans to weaponize nuclear weapons and use them.
When did you tell President Trump you were going to launch these strikes?
Look, I've been in constant contact with President Trump. We've known each other for many years. And obviously, we informed our American friends and President Trump, our great friend, ahead of time. We did. He knew about it, of course.
I mean, there were reports that President Trump kind of helped you achieve your strategic surprise by publicly urging you not to attack when he already knew you had decided to do it. So you were closely coordinating with the U.S. throughout this process.
Look, we're fully coordinated, but understand that America, under President Trump, will make the decisions that are best for America. And that's the way it is. He understands that I, as the Prime Minister of Israel, the one and only Jewish state, must make the decisions that are important for the survival of my country, and he will do what is best for America. That is a relationship of mutual respect and mutual confidence.
Others point towards shadowy alliances. Putin, Saudi Arabia, maybe even elements within China or North Korea. Strange bedfellows, predictable patterns. And here's the hardest question of all, perhaps. If every nation is at war with itself, if every government has both good twins and evil twins, hat tip Chris Paul, then which version of each country are we being told to support? And which version of each country actually acknowledges Christ as king? This isn't just geopolitics. It's theology. It's spiritual war dressed up in statecraft. And if you're a Christian watching this, you should be asking, whom do I serve? And whose story am I in? Let's come back to Trump for a moment. He says Iran called him to tell him they were going to launch missiles, but they wouldn't hit. They wanted to show strength, he says, but not cause deaths. A warning strike, a psychological move. That was respect, he says. Do you believe that? Do you believe a nation at war would tip off its greatest enemy out of honor? Especially one that supposedly wants to assassinate Trump, as Netanyahu has asserted. And if you do, does that change your understanding of what a U.S. enemy might look like? Missiles that miss, stories that stick, questions that linger. It was the title of my article on Monday. The Israel-Iran tension is real. The stakes are high. But if you only look at this as bombs and borders, you're missing the much deeper war. The one for your mind. The one for your loyalty. This isn't about being pro or anti anyone. It's about seeing clearly. It's about training your eyes to spot patterns, your heart to resist manipulation, and your soul to anchor itself in something higher than national pride. This is about the wisdom of God. Because the moment you attach your faith to a flag, or your identity to a single man, you've already surrendered the one thing every one of these wars and every one of these puppeteers behind them want from you: your discernment. So step back, watch closely, ask the questions, read between the headlines, and most of all, refuse to be told who your enemy is without thinking it through for yourself, and more importantly, without praying and fasting for yourself. We are living in the theater of the real, but you don't have to play your part blindly. Stay awake, stay sharp, and walk off the stage when you must. Because sometimes, the only way to win the war for your soul is to refuse to fight in the one that's been scripted for you.